Well, hey, this is Dr. Scott Langford. I'm professor of English Emeritus at Foothill Community College in the South Bay of San Francisco. And I am also a member of the executive board of the Global Educators Network. And I'm here today on the Gen YouTube channel to interview three members of a team that has created a new project specifically to support those of us in Gen and the wider community of scholars at Stanford from community colleges who are participating in something called EPIC. And EPIC is the educational program to internationalize the curriculum. It's an ongoing, more than 10-year-old outreach effort to community colleges and community college educators, at first across the Bay Area, then later across California, and now across the nation, to empower community college educators and to help them bring their expertise and their experience to bear on some of the most pressing international problems and opportunities in teaching that are out there right now. Let me quickly introduce all three so you know who you're talking to, and then they're going to start to tell us about EPIConnect, which is a new platform, resource platform that they've constructed to help community college instructors exactly like me. So if you're a community college educator, you should be tuning in hard because I'm excited about this project. Fyza Parviz Jazra recently graduated with a master's degree from Stanford. Previously, she worked as a software engineer at Apple and Motorola. For the past several years, Fyza has been co-directing the Poetic Media Lab at Stanford. For the past 4 years, she's been working closely with EPIC fellows to build digital and pedagogical tools for the classroom. Nelson Schuchmacher Endebo is the co-founder and product manager of EPIConnect. He's also a PhD candidate in comparative literature at Stanford University. In addition, he supports community college instruction as an education technology consultant for the EPIC Fellowship Program and Stanford Global Studies. That's in fact how Nelson and I met, because he was in a support role and I got fantastic support from him during one of my several tours of duty in EPIC. Nelson also supports other education technology initiatives at the Graduate School of Education at Stanford University. And then finally, we have Ellis Schriefer, who's a PhD candidate in Iberian and Latin American cultures at Stanford University. Her academic research centers on contemporary Spanish social movements, processes of gentrification, and community-established public spaces. Her emphasis is on understanding how diverse working-class communities in Madrid establish a sense of collective identity through their social practices and cultural production. Ellis is also passionate about instructional design and the open education movement, increasing community involvement within academia, as well as teaching Spanish film, literature, language, and cultural classes. She holds a BA with distinction in Spanish from the University of Otago in New Zealand, and an MA with distinction in Spanish and Portuguese languages and literature from New York University. So one of the things I love about the EPIC team, I'll start by saying, is that you are literally yourselves incredibly international, incredibly multi-talented, and you've created a team that's able to bring multiple skill sets to the table in that Stanford design thinking way, I hope, right? So Nelson, I think I'll start with you and just ask you, can you tell us a little bit about the origin and evolution of this new platform that you're calling EPIConnect?
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for the generous introductions. Yeah, so the idea behind EPIConnect is actually quite simple. So it's a platform where community college instructors can share work on curriculum design and other projects that they might be working on, right? So think, I don't know, academia.edu, right? It's a website that a lot of people use, right? So you go there, you share your research papers. EPIConnect is really focused on the teaching aspect of community college instruction, which is of course key to careers in community college, right? It's how most community college instructors spend their time, although there is research as well, right? But so basically the idea is have one place where you are working on your project, you go there, you upload, you request feedback from a community You find collaborators who might be working on their own projects. Sometimes their projects might be similar to yours. So you join forces, you create a community, you become known in that community for work that you're doing, right? That's the idea behind it. Now, the origin story. In 2019, I joined the EPIC program in Stanford Global Studies, right? So basically what we do there is it's a one-year program, and community college instructors from California. We've had some exceptions, but it's usually focused on California. They come to the Stanford campus, and they bring projects that they want to develop throughout the course of the year, right? And then they have access to a lot of Stanford resources, including these kind of consultations, sessions with people like myself and Fyza. Fyza actually started working with EPIC even before I did, so that's where we met. And over the years, what we noticed in the program is that when we are still in the application cycle, so we're like selecting candidates for the next cycle, we noticed that there are a lot of projects that are similar to one another. You want to develop a film class curriculum centered on European cinema or Arab cinema, right? Middle Eastern cinema or African cinema, whatever may be the case. And next year, there's somebody who wants to develop something very similar. The impression we have is that a lot of people are interested in similar things, right? But they're really working separately in silos. You just don't know about these colleagues who are doing things that you yourself want to be doing. So how can we then make this process more collaborative? So this was one of the ideas, really, for EPIConnect. Like let's just then build some infrastructure to enable some of that work, so people are not reinventing the wheel. They are really building off of each other's work, right? They're having conversations about, which bibliography they want to use, which movies are appropriate to teach a certain curriculum, and they're doing that with each other.
Yeah, I might even jump in and use myself as an example.
All right.
So my several tours of duty through what is called EPIC, Educational Project to Internationalize the Curriculum. You get a one-year fellowship as a community college instructor, staff member, or admin person. This has all been expanded. We started with just instructors, and now it's across the board. Anybody who's an educator in a community college anywhere in the United States is eligible to apply. You get you get support from Stanford University, and feedback, and hopefully a platform to get some of your ideas out there. So my hat was working on something that I call climate change across the curriculum. I'm a passionate climate educator. I worked all year building modules and model curricula for community college instructors that I felt could be used anywhere in the United States. There's a big symposium this was pre-COVID, so there was a big symposium on campus. And I think we're going to be back together again this year, now that COVID's passed on. But here's my point, and this is why I'm so excited. I think I am like a great poster child for your project, Nelson, because I have been a little bit frustrated. I've actually put years of effort into climate change across the curriculum, right? I think that my presentation at the symposium was fantastic, of course, right? Of course, at least I thought so. And I got fantastic feedback, and that did create some networks that created some friendships and networks that still exist today. But in another way, when it was over, it was over. So like, how do I share out this fantastic resource that I think is essential to the planet that's right behind me on the Zoom screen? So here is this project that I have all of my heart and life in, and I really do believe that the fate of the planet doesn't necessarily hang in the balance of my work, but in all of our work together. It's an incredibly international, intersectional, interdisciplinary, and urgent problem. In fact, it is the most international, interdisciplinary, intersectional, and urgent problem that humanity ever has or ever will face. But I don't know how to get it out there. And if you hand me a platform that exists in many other areas, community colleges, we don't have this. We don't have this. If you're in CompLit at Stanford, as several of you are, I was just sharing with Nelson, a platform, a newly improved platform for Stanford Humanities Center Fellows, where they can share their research out. And interact with each other, but we're also, if someone's interested, like, oh, Scott's idea sounds really interesting. Where do I find it? That simply doesn't exist. And it's even worse if you're not a full-time instructor, as I have been for all these 30 years. Policy, to me, this almost comes built in with a university professorship or instructorship, right? They give you a platform on which to present yourself. We just don't have that in community colleges. So here's the opportunity for the vast amount of expertise, the inspiration, the teaching knowledge, the deep teaching knowledge that comes with being a community college instructor. We know what we're doing, but we don't have an effective way to share. So the fact that Nelson and the rest of you were able to understand that need and feel that need, and then create a platform
Mm.
that potentially really could support that, not just for a few instructors that go through EPIC, but ultimately scaling up, truly can be an amazing gift to American education. And I am so passionately engaged in hoping that this actually comes true, because it would be life changing for me, honestly, right? Like, I have skin in the game. This is something I've needed my whole career, and it's never been given to me. The one year that I was in, each year I was in EPIC, I would have that for a year, and then it would be taken away.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for your enthusiasm for the project. We really appreciate that. And that gives us, motivation to keep going forward. So we're really excited and we would love for you to be one of the early beta testers. So I will just add a little bit more to the story that Nelson was telling, and then maybe Ellis can finish off this origin story. So one thing that happened, and like Nelson mentioned, he joined the Poetic Media Lab and helping EPIC Fellows in 2019, and I had been part of the program since 2018. So I had seen the symposium, and I had seen how energized the presenters are, and the people who come to see the symposium are generally people who would like to apply the next year. So this is one way for them to meet and mingle with current fellows who are graduating, and then learn from them like what kind of projects they could pursue and apply. So one thing that happened after COVID was that, and we would have like 100 people or so, or maybe 50 to 100 people who would come to the in-person symposium. So when COVID hit, the symposium went online, virtual, and Nelson and I were really surprised. We had the largest number of attendance at that symposium. And that kind of showed us, like before, we were really limited to whoever could come to Stanford campus, but now there are many more people, many more community college instructors, even past fellows, future fellows, or who want to come and attend and really learn about the projects that are being developed. And that's when, things started ticking in our head, what could be done better to kind of facilitate this process. And one thing we did in 2021 was join this Learning Design Challenge. And that's where, Nelson introduced Ellis to me, because they were both in Comp Lit and they were working on project together beforehand. First of its kind, offered by School of Education in collaboration with StartX. And StartX is the startup accelerator at Stanford. And it was a 2-quarter workshop where you sort of take an idea, could be an idea from scratch, and you develop it. And as you develop, you pitch to investors, pitch to judges, they evaluate you, and then you win. First quarter, you have an award, and then you go, if you're a winner in the first quarter, you go on to the second quarter, and then, you win the grand prize. When the three of us got together, we were like, this is a really great problem that we would like to solve, but we didn't know how to go about it. And so we really wanted to understand the problem. That's where School of Education and StartX, through that workshop, helped us how to interview our target audience, how to pre-prototype and make these paper prototypes and showcase to our target audience and see what they like, see what they don't like, and then sort of pivot our idea. We won in the first quarter, so that gave us a lot of motivation. Like, this is, a good idea, and people are behind this. And then we applied for the research award, and we won that as well in the second quarter. So we're like an award winner for that from that program. And I think that really helped us find the right tools and the right people to help us shape the idea. And now, of course, we're at that stage where we're actively developing the prototype that maybe Nelson will be able to show in this interview, if so. And that's also how the three of us really got to work together. And the other thing about startup is that you really, you spend so much time together. You really need to enjoy each other's company. And that's one thing. We love each other's company. We support each other through, like Ellis and I have kids. So, we support each other through that. And the milestones that we have regarding our startup project, or I was working on my master thesis. These guys are working on their PhD. So we obviously have a lot other stuff going on, but we're a really supportive team. And we feel like that's the same kind of love and support we've been given from our target audience, the EPIC fellows. Whenever we ask for help, they're there.
Ellis, maybe I should let you step in too and say, what's your perspective on origins and also where we need to go from here? You have built a fantastic prototype. We'll see it in a little while. And now it's just a question of how do we find additional resources so it really can get out to people like me and beyond just people like me who happen to be connected to EPIC and have come to the symposium. How do we roll it out at a wider level to the largest system of higher education on the earth? At least, at last time I checked, the community college systems in the United States enroll more students than any other system on the whole planet. Ellis, what's your role in all this, and how is it going to move forward?
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. It's just a pleasure to be here speaking with you about this, something that we are so passionate about and have been thinking about and kind of been brewing for so long. And I think now we're at this exciting kind of pivotal moment in which fellows are creating profiles. We're getting people on the platform. We're going to be launching it. We're in the midst of working on a website. But I think dial back sort of everything that's coming, and I'll leave sort of some anticipation with that. We can discuss in a few minutes to talk more about sort of the dynamic that we have. Fyza sort of mentioned, we just get along so well. We have so much passion for each other's individualized interests, but also have so much overlap in our shared interests. And not only are we all passionate about the same thing, we all work on the EPIC program now. I'm one of the support folks as well, which is fabulous. I think, you're working so much, creating content and thinking about how EPIC fellows can reach their full potential. We've also had a lot of invaluable help from CESTA-sponsored interns. It's the Center for Textual and Spatial Analysis. Have I gotten it right?
Textual.
Oh, yes. Now I'm not even thinking of the order here.
Whichever. Yeah. And what does that mean? And by the way, what does that mean in English? Because it sounds very Stanford-y.
Stanford loves their acronyms, right?
They do.
So what are people doing in CESTA? CESTA, it's an unbelievably large umbrella that has all sorts of different projects. The Poetic Media Lab, right, that Nelson and Fyza direct is one of those subsections. And it's people working with, can I broadly say digital humanities projects?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. So digitizing digital humanities and bringing the vast power of computing and AI to the humanities as a way to supercharge all kinds of different projects. EPIConnect being a perfect example.
Totally,
right?
Totally. And so not only have we had incredible help from undergrads at Stanford that have helped with back-end work, that have helped with interviews, that have truly just played a crucial role in getting things off the ground and have enabled us to make such strides in development since the Learning Design Challenge started. But also we have participation from community college students that choose to spend their free time on something they feel equally passionate about. And so they have helped us with all of the same things that our paid CESTA interns have. So, truly, I think it is the diversity of our team with this shared passion that has enabled everything to sort of fit into place. And then also just all of the time that we have been given to talk with EPIC fellows have been super generous with their time. Some alumni, didn't even realize that this would be something that they could join post-program. And so they gave our time and we're like, no, we want you too. It's never too late. And that's what creating this network is all about. We want people to be helping each other out to ultimately work less. You have all this passionate material, share it. Other people are going to, make some changes and modify it to fit the parameters of their course and ideally share content that you can use in your courses, because we know firsthand from speaking with fellows just how busy you all are and balancing so many different obligations and high class numbers, really just doing an incredible job balancing it all. So our hope is that EPIConnect will sort of relieve some of the burden and, more than anything, create community for all of these equally passionate and inspired instructors.
It was actually a community college student intern, not from the Bay Area, an international student intern, as a matter of fact, as well, right, from Thailand, who first introduced me to the concept of EPIConnect. And then my antenna went, and then as soon as I heard about it, I was finding Nelson on LinkedIn and saying, hey, whoa, what is this cool thing? So maybe that's a good segue to say, Nelson, I think you want to do some screen shares. Maybe this is a point at which you can show us where you are so far. It's important to know that, you know, you're just getting through the beta stage. You have some prototypes. We don't have finished product yet. It's still a work in progress, as we like to say in Silicon Valley. We're building the airplane in flight. So Captain Nelson, maybe you can show us where the wings and the tail rudders are glued on at this point, and give us a little tour of the airplane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we are changing the tires with the car running.
And maybe while you're setting this up, Nelson, I can emphasize that, you know, while right now we're focusing on the EPIC program, ultimately we want to be thinking about community college instructors and educators far beyond EPIC, right? So right now it has this sort of, oh, maybe if you're not in EPIC, should I pay attention to this? Yes, we are creating this network for everyone. If you're teaching in a community college, we want you know, to create a profile for you, to have you share your passion, your work through Creative Commons, share, and people can, you know, give you attribution for this work and modify and really have your work spread across community college classrooms everywhere.
And the other thing, just to add, like, even if, like Ellis mentioned, we'll be featuring projects from EPIC Fellows, but anybody can log in and see the projects of these EPIC Fellows, right? So that's another way to motivate people to apply to these programs, or even like to contact an EPIC Fellow and say, I really like your project and I would like to, you know, expand it into my classroom, even though I'm not part of the EPIC program or don't intend to apply. So it's like anybody can come in and view this. And of course, as Ellis mentioned, the way we will scale it is to go beyond the EPIC fellowship, go to other fellowships as well, and reach out to, you know, more community colleges and instructors. So it's not limited to,
I mean, I do a lot of presentations about community college, so I hope I get my numbers right. I'm an English professor, so you can always
that's great.
You can check them out. But there's more than 20,000 full-time professors in California alone. 20,000 full-time professors in the community college system, just in California, right? It is by far the largest system of higher education in the United States. And even more important, we are the lighthouse of education for all kinds of non-traditional, traditionally underserved students. By far the largest number of students of color, by far the largest number of working class students, by far like overwhelmingly the largest number of veteran students, since we just went past Veterans Day, and on a working moms, disabled students. We are the lighthouse of American education, but it's an enormous system. So this is why I'm so excited. I mean, you started just trying to support a very, very, very tiny cross-section of community college instructors, but you've listened so well that literally every single community college instructor I've ever met would be thrilled to be able to access a system like this. Like, it's a huge unfilled need that you've discovered. And none of us have really ever had the resources. I mean, I think we've always known it's there, but none of us have ever had the resources, the technological skill sets to put something like this together. So the possibility of a national platform for community college instructors just makes my heart leap, because we have so much to offer, and the students that we serve, we're the future. Like, we're serving the future of America. And if you could give us this tool, it would be transformative in creating communities, in empowering community college instructors, in allowing us to share our expertise with other systems of higher education, and in making sure that the students are even better served than they are now.
Well, it's coming, Scott. It's coming.
Okay, good.
The prototype
my pom-poms on.
So the prototype that Nelson is showing you is the current website that is being developed. It's not the one with all the the 1,000 features that we have. So so we can see if you want to see this one or if you want to see the other one.
Okay, well, yeah, just give me the tour. Like I say, I realize you've been through a lot of beta already. So show me where you're at now, Nelson. That'd be great to see.
So, when you first come in, you're gonna sign in, right? You can create your account. So once you're in, so this is the profile of a student. We're building this for instructors, but Ben was one of the engineers working on this project in the summer. So you can edit your profile here, right? Add your interests, right? Eventually, we want to add like a search feature that allows you to find people who have shared interests, right? Or also search by discipline. Perhaps even colleges.
Right. Or Scott can type in climate change, and maybe you can find
exactly
other
climate. So we will be like it'll be a climate change as a tag, and then if there are other people who are in that circle, we could either put you together, or so we have different ideas on how we can get people to connect.
I mean, that alone is huge for me. If you can help me find other educators in community college system. Go ahead, Nelson. Sorry.
So once you have your profile, so these are some projects fellows actually have worked on, and they are indexed here. For instance, we have an international film in humanities, course. So here you can learn more about this particular project, the goals with the project. You can also read about challenges that this particular project developer, who is also an instructor, faced while developing, and is to really spark a conversation, start a conversation, and also start from a baseline of vulnerability of things that we all face, right? Challenges, failures, things that we are trying to develop that maybe we don't. So we can kickstart collaboration and can hopefully address some of these things. We have some of the project takeaways now. This is at the end of the project what this was all about.
So the goal here is that in the final version of the platform, this would be like the final page of once the project is complete, and the EPIC fellow comes and adds in all their information. Of course, the EPIConnect platform will have multiple stages of the project. Like when they first start, it look very different. This is just like showing you the final. And so another thing that a feature that we really want to add is a feedback feature where you can actually have a conversation with people who come to this platform. So if somebody says, my main challenge is that I don't know how to do data analytics for data that I've gathered, and somebody who may have known can come and say, oh yeah, I can tell you, like, use these resources or something like that. So that's where we really want to, the challenge is we want people to connect with each other and help each other so that what your roadblock is, and then somebody else can come in and help you. And that's where we would connect like that feedback feature so that you can have that conversation online.
Yeah, and beyond EPIC, this would be a course that you're teaching, or maybe a module of your course that you're sort of wanting to share, enthusiastic to share, or still working on sort of refining and are eager for feedback.
We can also envision instructors using this, for example, in conferences, right? To talk about work that they've done, that they've accomplished. They can share a link to this that anyone in the audience can access, right? And start participating in the conversation right away, right? Almost like a kind of a LinkedIn type of view, where like you're in the conference, so you're just connecting over this project, and you kind of don't waste any time, right? Like you can get up to speed on connecting and talking, hopefully with your colleague. We have for example, the virtual study abroad, and here you can find the project leader. So you want to connect with her. She has some of her interests, right? Projects, have a list of publications, right? Eventually you want to make that list a little more interactive, like with links and things like that.
The other thing, if you want to go back to the project, what we want is for them to share their slides or their coursework, or something that is related to their project there. So if somebody says, yeah, I have a Canvas Commons course that is related to my virtual study abroad, then that would be linked here. So somebody doesn't have to go to different sites to find them, like just one place where you could find everything about this particular research project and all the other like publications, books, classes that came out, or even a presentation slide deck that came out of it, so people can find all those resources in one.
Yeah, or handouts even, right? For an in-class activity.
The profiles are really built by the instructors, right? And they will share whatever they want to do, and that can be platform agnostic. So it does not have to be dependent on Canvas, because we know how those things go, right?
Exactly.
2 years, 3 years, community college decision makers decide to terminate their contract with Canvas. Now you need to migrate your course to a different platform. Whereas here you are sharing the building blocks for your course that you can use on Blackboard, or you can use on Canvas, or you can use on even Moodle, right? Or like an open source LMS. So I think it's really important for us to really provide a space for the instructors to be able to share the actual materials without having to worry so much about platforms, because we know exactly what happens when decision makers decide to make campus wide decisions that impact everyone, right?
This is one of the reasons why we're developing everything from scratch, and which is why it's taking us a bit longer, because we've had problems with using WordPress, Drupal as Poetic Media Lab. We've been trying all these different tools, and they always have upkeep issues or upgrade issues, or something is getting defunct and you really like this feature and now it's going away. And so we were like, scratch that. We want something that we can really build, because we know what we want, and something very simple. We don't want it to be too complicated, something simple but easy to use. So, so that's why it's been taking us long to do. We did a lot of user testing, then prototyping, user research, UX design, and now finally coming to development. And as you know, development cycle also takes a bit longer, but it's been a great process because we have the control of this platform, because everything is coded by us and our interns, and developed from scratch. But we are really focusing right now on the EPIC fellows, because we want to have a successful test case that we can say, hey, look, we really built this, it's working really well, and then go and show, and then people can even trust, like, oh yeah, my colleague, like, your colleagues, and then you're like, oh yeah, they used it and they have a good experience, so now I can join in. Because we don't want to burden, as you mentioned, community college instructors are already burdened with large classes, not that much support. You don't want to put another tool on their head, right? Like, they already are dealing with so many tools. You want to make sure that it's easy to use, it's accessible, and they can see their colleagues using it and having a good experience. So that's what we're really trying to achieve, is to have like a successful beta product, and then should go forward and try.
But for us to be able to really have this product, we do need to find financial support. We need to find funding, right? We're currently studying different models of like how we might obtain funding. The goal is really to provide a service. This is really what we are trying to do with this. But there are like different routes where about like how this might play out, right? There are some revenue models that we actually don't want to charge community college instructors directly. So the question is then who should we charge? And if we go that route, like we really need to have a successful case to validate, right, our argument. So it's a little tricky how to go about this. If we were just kind of following the for-profit kind of starting route, I think we would be a lot more aggressive about some of the things that we're trying to do now. But that's really not the point. I mean, the point is really to develop a service that we believe will deliver a lot of value to community college instructors, that we believe we can scale in a healthy, organic way, partly because we actually put in the time to meet our users, right? Our target users. We actually build relationships with community college instructors. You can't really scale this, right? Like, I can't meet with 1,000 people in 1 hour, right? It's not how it works. Some people will argue that that's not true. I will challenge them to build actual relationships that way. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks right to this idea about the EPIC program, where EPIC fellows are expected, or part of the program is that after the program finishes, they work as ambassadors, right, in their own institutions to share their project and the work that they have done during that fellowship year. And I think our hope is that everyone who, starting with the EPIC Fellowship, who is using EPIConnect, finding this community that they will then serve as our ambassadors, right?
Absolutely.
To grow the community. That's not self-serving, really about just sharing pedagogy, sharing great ideas, and ultimately passion, right? Which is certainly what we have, but also what every EPIC fellow and every community college educator that we've spoken to.
Yeah, no, I really echo Ellis's word. And, when we talk to potential investors or startup folks and they ask us, why are you solving this problem? And we say, well, we were working with EPIC fellows for 4 years, right, collectively. And we really understand their problems, and we see the kind of things that they struggle with, or even as staff members for EPIC Fellowship Program, you don't want to reinvent the wheel every time. When an example for your project, like if you already did, class a project on climate change, somebody else comes with the same idea or something very similar, it'd be great to connect you both and not have to, restart the whole process again. So I think that's what's really important for us to meet everyone individually and build those relationships rather than just say, oh, we're just going to scale and not, we really want to have those personalized connections, know the kind of projects that they want to work with, help them connect with their peers on the right path by growing slowly and developing each project and helping them. It means we're not on that time scale of Silicon Valley, but we are on a different time scale, and that's more of what suits us.
Yeah.
With building, connections.
Yeah, connections and just being as methodical as possible, right? And making sure that, when we do launch it, when you'll be one of the first to know, Scott, that it is ready to accept, your project and ready for you to start, connecting with other instructors whose projects maybe you hadn't had the pleasure of seeing at an EPIC symposium.
I'll take the opportunity, the platform, Scott, that you've given us, with this interview to tell any, impact investor out there who is interested in working with us. Reach out, because we want to build this. I think we know how to build this. I think we have a pretty good, sense of the problem that we are solving, the problem space. We've spent enough time, in the problem space to, but we do need people who believe in slow growth. I don't have any illusions about this comprising all the investors out there, but I do believe that there might be, some people out there who might want to make a difference.
So I love the team is made up of people who actually are educators themselves, and then you get resources and help and back end support through SESTA, et cetera, once again, from a place like Stanford that can really provide that, right? The question is now, how do we take it to the next level? But part of what next level funders need to know is that Stanford has literally supported and nurtured this. You did get a significant level of support from Stanford University, and that's given you time to create a really quality basic prototype that can eventually be scaled. It's a wonderful candidate for further funding precisely because it has been nurtured and supported so well, both by your passion as actual instructors, educators, educator to educator, but also because Stanford and the Department of Education, funding EPIC, put significant resources into making this an ongoing project. Yep. We didn't have to do this in 1 year. We didn't have to do this in 1 month. We didn't have this timeline that meant we came out with something that was all bells and whistles but it had no legs, couldn't walk. Boy, I'm really mixing my metaphors. That would be quite an awkward beat. But that's actually the point, right? So you didn't have to create this kind of awkward project under some gun of a timeline. Instead, you really were able to deeply listen, deeply engage.
We'll see what happens in the next year. I think next year is going to be important for this project. We are at a good momentum now. We've had many opportunities in the last few months to introduce new people to the project. The response has been really good. Access to good advice here from people who are in the kind of funding space. We're going to be spending a little more time talking to them and, to do this the right way, and we can't wait to get our use cases in order and really build some nice conversations around it. Hopefully the community college instructors are are going to be our allies in this as we build this for them.
And I hope I've made it clear. I feel there is an urgent need, all the way down to the tiny little seedbed of those of us that have participated in the Stanford EPIC program, and then all the way up to one of the largest, if not the largest, systems of higher education on the planet. It's at a tipping point, and I am looking forward to interviewing you next year.
I just want to add a couple of things. Earlier in this interview, you mentioned adjunct faculty, right? Like, we are fully aware. If the numbers I have are right, we are talking 68% of faculty down in California are adjuncts, right? So one of the things that we're really trying to build here is a robust community of content creators who are instructors who are working on these like different curricula and different projects, right? So you can kind of trickle down to benefit their colleagues who have less incentive to put in that extra work because, well, I mean, you're underpaid, overworked, you just don't have the time, right? But you do, if given the opportunity, right, you will take advantage, right, of work that your community is producing, so you can improve the quality of instruction in the long term. If this is our thesis, that people will use EPIConnect that way, right? The second thesis then is that if this happens, right, the quality of instruction in community colleges across California is also going to improve. It's going to benefit the students, right? So we're working now on building this thing so we can really start, testing these theses. But I do believe we are kind of tapping into some potentially powerful network effects there.
I think I'll build off of that, Nelson, and say that, we are at a point in which we have lots of momentum going forward. And I think that's what is sort of filling us all with excitement right now. But the work is also just beginning in another way, right? We want to get a website launched so we can be, promoting interviews like this one. So you can get to know us all a little more, hear more about sort of the aspirations and where we're at right now. But also, getting it up and running officially, right? It's taking us a while. We're being really careful and meticulous with the back end. But that's coming along, and not long to go, we will have something, that people can start jumping onto. And I'll maybe pass it over to Fyza, and you can.
No, just to add on what Ellis and Nelson were saying, like, definitely we have a lot of more features in the pipeline. We want to start with the very basic, and then we want to see the response and then go develop further. We don't want to launch with 1,000 features and confuse the end user. We want to launch with something very simple and then keep adding on a feature, and really, like Ellis and Nelson have mentioned, really think through, how our user would use this feature, how it would help them. We really see EPIConnect not just a tool for collaboration, but as a tool also for professional development of community college instructors. And so our goal is to achieve that, to help them be motivated, to be excited, to connect with their peers, get feedback on their projects, apply their projects to their classroom, get their students excited, and new ways on how to evaluate. And so there's just a lot of things that we would like to achieve, and there's just one slow step at a time. But yes, that would be our eventual goal, and we're really excited to keep working on this. And thank you so much for giving us your time. And yes, in 1 year we'll have more to share, and we'll be really fortunate to talk to you again. So thank you so much, Scott.